Hello everyone, I just want to show you two quick miniatures to illustrate some principle in cramp position. Here's a game from 1988 between a player named Larota and Sarwer with the black pieces. So e4, c6, Carol Khan, knight c3, d5, knight f3, d takes e4, knight takes e4, knight f6, queen e2, bishop g4, g3, intending to play bishop g2, knight bd7, big mistake, and then knight d6 checkmate. For you new people out there, the reason why this pawn can't capture is because the queen is on e2, so it's not a legal move. And the big mistake that black made was playing knight bd7, which blocks the action of the queen on d8, which could have rescued rescued black from his ignominious fate here. So for that not to happen, just a simple move like e6 solves that problem, or simply capturing here, but e6 is better as it continues to the development of the black side. So knight bd7, knight d6 checkmate. That was in 1988. Go through the time machine real quick. To 1950, we have Paul Keres with the white pieces against a player with the black pieces named Arlemovsky. And the game started out in similar fashion. e4, c6, knight c3, d5, knight f3, d takes, knight takes e4, knight f6. There's queen e2 again, knight bd7, and knight d6. Only difference between this and the other game played 38 years later was the interposition of the moves bishop g4 and g3, but the trap is very similar. So this is a good argument for studying your classics. Perhaps if those players in 1988 knew about this game, the black player wouldn't have fell into the same trap here. So why am I showing such simple games here? Well, I wanted to illustrate a principle that in these cramped positions, especially when you have the two knights here together on d7 and f6, and with the king in the middle of the board, can be very dangerous. And this is something that should make your your senses tingle when you see the formation like that, with the king not being castled and you see those knights in that position. This idea can be transferred to other openings. So for example, Alekhine's defense, let me just throw that on. So okay, so knight f6 e5, knight d4, knight d5 d4 d6. That's just knight f3 takes. Now normally you'll see g6, which is Albert's variation, or you'll see c6, Kangas variation, for good reason. But back in the 60s, Bent Larson was saying this variation for a while, knight d7. You try to resurrect it in the famous game against Tao with the white pieces. I believe he tried to play twice, and once he might have drawn and the other lost. I would have to look back at those games. But again, the only difference here is we see, of course, the queen is not at e2 and it's not a mating attack. But notice the symptoms in the position. The king's still in the middle and very cramped. And if you put this knight back here, it almost looks similar to the other positions just shown. So the only difference is that the real difference is the knight on d5. And the normal move in this position, and the reason why these other moves are played, c6 and g6 respectively, is because knight d7, a move that black would just like to do, doesn't work because of knight takes f7. Alright, black is too cramped and this king is weak. And then you get into all of this theory after queen h5 check. And of course, for black to have any justification for making that move, he has to try to save this knight. There's two very powerful moves here, c4 or g3, with the idea of bringing this bishop out here. Okay, so this is why you don't really see this opening attempted. Alright, but I showed you that just to illustrate that you don't necessarily have to remember, oh, that's a line in the Caro-Kann, or that only happens in Alekhine's defense. No, it's the principle. You see those knights like that and the king in the center of the board, be on the lookout for those type of opportunities. I'll show you one more. So let's say, for example, the Pyrrhic defense. Let's just throw that in there. And normally, of course, castle is played, and then play can go any number of ways. But again, same situation. You have the knight on d7, knight on f6, king still in the middle of the board. All right, now here he has a little more space, at least. However, the solution is still the same. Bishop takes f7 check, king takes f7, followed by knight g5, exploiting the holes in the light squares. So of course, if king e8, then just simply knight e6, hitting the queen and bishop here, but the game is over as the queen is now trapped. Alright, so this is just to illustrate that this is all based on the cramped nature of the position and the king not being squared away, right? The king being still vulnerable in the opening. Of course, if he goes to f8, then there's just a simple fork here on e6. So normally when players get caught out there like that, they'll tuck the king in the corner. You still go to e6. The queen only has one good square to go, and that allows you to pick up the rook in the corner because you're hitting the queen and the rook. And the game is pretty much over. Any strong player would just finish this off. And that's how, that's like almost resignable at that point. Alright, so that is it. It's a very, very short lesson, but again, this principle is good that you can take and look for other positions where you can apply that knowledge at. So again, please like, subscribe, check all my links below. Please donate and support to my channel if you like this channel, and I'll post some DVD/book links on the opening that we saw primarily today, which was the Caro-Kann defense. And I'll see you guys on the next video.